Oh boy, let's talk about that new Borderlands DLC to see how the writing has changed and how the new Tony is gonna do. Actually, let me talk about pre-sequel real quick. So a lot of people ask me my feelings on pre-sequel, and while it does have a nice build-up of Jack being evil and a really great ending, as a whole, Zarpedon is kind of a joke villain in that she's explicitly the good guy, and that's an interesting idea that doesn't really go anywhere or is expanded on at all. And while Tony got rid of the overbearing pop culture references, he just kind of doubled down on the other kind of joke. The real good stuff is at the end, but the rest of that game is just sorta there too. Now I'll also talk about the Borderlands 2 DLCs, but not very much because I played them once back when they came out. I remember the pirate one existed because I had a head I got from it and remember nothing about it. I remember Torg's DLC actually having funny jokes in it. I never finished the Hammerlock one, and I remember the D&D one being about dealing with loss in kind of a clever way and also shooting skeletons, so that one's probably the best one. Okay, so now let's talk about the new DLC. I'm just gonna blow through it on my level 50 characters so I can talk about the writing and stuff. And I'm gonna take you along with me on the journey. Let's have ourselves a good old time.
I hear the sounds of bloodthirsty murder, and I love it.
Yay, we're already off to a great start with this new character. Oh wait, no. Oh no, I know that voice. Oh, Vaughn, my man, look what they did to you.
We gotta reset the security relays to get that firewall aflame.
Hey, you guys remember how in Tales, this man's arc was he went from silly joke man to kind of actually stoic leader after trials and tribulations? I mean, I guess you could just not follow up with that at all. I mean, you can do whatever you want. I'm not the police.
Pandora's like air, or meat, or underwear. It's meant to be shared.
Ah, there's that signature Gearbox humor. It's gonna be all over this shit.
Unless sprouting vines and losing your mind is a newfound kink, in which case I have some echo novels for your perusal. Judgment-free zone.
So, Tanis is particularly horny in this DLC, and yeah, that tracks. I mean, you know, she spent the last, like, 2 games sort of coming out of her shell, and inside of her shell was just a lot of weird porn, so yeah, that sounds like sort of the logical conclusion to her character, you know.
Yes, just as I suspected. I gained absolutely no information from those infected skags. The scientific method prevails again.
Hey, we got one! We got a funny joke! That was good, I like that one. Put it on the counter.
Oh, I'll be your mom, all right. What does that even mean? You don't have to mean nothing. This is my house.
You know what? I'm gonna give him that one too. It seems like there are a couple of these quests that were maybe gonna have binary choices at the end, but then ended up not having those. Like this one, for instance, you might have gone with Crazy Earl or Marcus and decided who you would kick out of the house, but in the end of the quest, you just sort of side with Crazy Earl because that's how the quest ends. And this isn't a good or bad thing, it's just something I sort of noticed.
I couldn't decide between righteous flames and furious fury or...
Now, here's something this quest does that Tony never really did. Tony would always keep the serious stuff and the jokey stuff kind of far away from each other, so that they wouldn't intermingle and, like, destroy the tone. And this one kind of mixes the peas and the mashed potatoes a little bit. It doesn't just completely destroy the tone or anything, it's a little bit muddled and could be a little bit better.
Wait. Hold up. You gonna fire the biggest can on the whole muckabucking planet, and you didn't call me? I am offended.
Tina.
Oh boy, we're back. Well, as far as characterization goes, I'm glad to see that Tina is exactly the same, and pretty much exactly like how Tony was writing her. That's great.
Can I be mega real? Sometimes I feel like if I don't keep moving, I'll just stop. Maybe it's a defense mechanism? Whatever, it's nothing. Sorry I'm bugging you with all this sad crap. Forget it.
Ugh, listen, you can't just bitch slap us with a 180 like that. You can't just turn the tone on a dime like that. There has to be a little bit more build-up than you put. I mean, you did have the whole thing where she's like, I'm not feeling it right now, but that kind of came out of nowhere. You gotta build that up. And the worst part about this is that if you did build it up, that would have been fucking great. and I'm a little bit disappointed. There's a lot of things you could have done to make it great, but it worked really well in blind spotting because Miles was unhinged and careless, and the kid getting a gun was just it affecting him himself.
I needed that. I'm back, Bugaboo! Get that power core! Oh my god, I just read the mission objective and it's happening again!
What the fuck?
Oh, Vaulty Vault. I thought you might be Raisin, but now I know you chocolate chip.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to take a break real quick before I have a fucking epic gamer moment. Here we go. Here's a good ARPG. God, it feels so good to just shit on an entire room of dudes. Alright, I'm good. Alright, let's get back into it. Now, here we have a side quest that presents a sort of moral quandary. We have Lilith and Tannis arguing if we should destroy a prototype of Angel's core or study it to learn more about sirens. And this is another quest that seemed like it might have ended in a binary choice, but that was cut at some point. Like, in the end, you would either side with Lilith, who wanted to destroy it, or Tannis, who wanted to study it. And you know, that would have made the quest a little better, but it's pretty good as it is. I'll say that it's a good quest. You know, I'm thinking about it, and the humor is doing an incredible job of rhyming with Tony's humor. Like, it's almost fucking identical. It's crazy. So this is either the current writer of it just mimicking it and really doing a good job, and if that's the case, then I gotta fucking hand it to him. Or maybe this humor was the idea of someone else who kind of likes this humor in his games and likes this humor in general and maybe owns the company. But of course, this is just speculation.
Got the location of our new post today. Brass says it's a paradise. The planet's name is Pandora. Sounds nice.
I really like this villain. He was betrayed and abandoned by the Doll Corporation, and essentially just wants to make Pandora the paradise that he was told it was, by killing everyone else. He's got great motivation, and his existence calls back to the interesting parts of the lore that I complained they didn't call back to in the previous video. He's a brilliant, ruthless monster created by corporate negligence that doesn't even necessarily have anything against you in particular. Here we go. Here's the quest that made me want to make the video about this, to see if the claims about it were true.
They're creating dark what ifs. If you're not careful, they'll get you.
You know, I feel like Tony would have put some research into cryptocurrency before writing this incredibly embarrassing quest. I mean, I feel like you're kind of shitting on the legacy of Anthony Birch, a writer whose career could best be described as divisive. Now, before I continue, some of you might not be aware of the controversy surrounding Rowdy Randy right now. Well, the voice actor for Claptrap, David Eddings, isn't voicing Claptrap in this DLC or in Borderlands 3. He said that he wasn't paid for voicing him because he'd worked at Gearbox at the time doing other stuff and just sort of got the job from there. Now, he no longer works there, but he said he would voice Claptrap again if he got paid for his past VA work. Gearbox said no. So, he told people that that's why he wasn't voicing Claptrap. Randy Pitchford, angered by people knowing this, said that that wasn't true and that Eddings was paid and that he was just mad about being fired. Now, of course, this could be true as well. On an unrelated note, Randy Pitchford is being sued by his lawyer for siphoning funds and lying to his employees about it. Anyway, after all that, David Eddings revealed more information. According to him, at GDC in 2017, Eddings was told someone was looking to buy Gearbox. He was the VP of business, and that was the first he was hearing about it. He told Randy Pitchford what he had heard, and then Randy demanded to know who told him. And when he wouldn't say, Randy physically assaulted him. And then sent him some fun texts before firing him. Now, after Eddings made these allegations, Gearbox made an official response. We will abstain from commenting on the allegations Dave is making because it is a personal matter. There you go, now you're all caught up. Let's see what the new Claptrap has to say at the end of this quest.
I guess I'll have to go beg Lilith for my old job back. Oh, Lilith, mighty ruler of the Crimson Raiders, I beseech you to please let me have my old job back. I'm sorry I abandoned you in your time of need.
Okay.
Thank thank you, your mercifulness. Yes, sirree. This whole place would completely fall apart without old Claptrap keeping things humming along. We soared amongst the wealth gods themselves, but alas, your insatiable greed took us too close to the sun.
And that's pretty much all I have to say about the DLC. I mean, you had some pretty good stuff, and you did have some really bad stuff. But you put those things together and you get okay. This is an okay DLC that you can go play. And, you know, the bad stuff was pretty bad, and it does make me a little bit afraid of what they're going to do with the writing in the third game, but that's assuming this is even going to be written by the people who are writing the third game, because I could find no real information about who wrote this at all. The credits are the weirdest fucking thing I've ever seen. All of the Gearbox staff are, like, lumped into Gearbox Quebec and Gearbox proper, and then all of the 2K staff have actual job titles. Even fucking Randy Pitchford just gets blocked in. So, I don't know, maybe it was the 2K guy who wrote it? Who fucking knows? I sure don't. They weren't as good as Tony, though, so... But I am in these games a lot for the gameplay, and Borderlands 3 does look like it's going to be adding on top of the gameplay, which is nice, so I'll probably end up playing it. Eventually.